It has been undeniably proven that in Exodus 16, which is before Israel made it to the mountain, that they had already known especially about the Sabbath. They were rebuked, in fact, for not keeping it. Notice I said rebuked, not instructed. There is a difference. You may ask, what's the point? Well, if they were rebuked for not keeping it, it must mean that they already knew especially about the Sabbath commandment, the fourth of the 10. Again, the fourth commandment was not given in Exodus 16. So, now it is certain we have to look before this event as well to determine when the Sabbath was given. Before we do that, let's look at the key verses in Exodus 16. Notice, this is a man speaking, not the Lord. So, how did they know the Lord had spoken it, if there is no command prior where God had commanded them to observe the Sabbath day? Also, it is a must that we remember that they did not yet reach Mount Sinai. There were no tables of stone yet. Can you see how the Sabbath commandment did not begin at Exodus 16 either? We have to look before this too, right? In verse 25, we see that Moses tells them about the Sabbath, but not because he had any personal instruction from God, not yet. Finally, in verse 28, we see God speak of the Sabbath. Notice very carefully, it is not to give the commandment, rather to rebuke Israel for not keeping his commandment, for breaking his holy Sabbath day. Why would God do this if he had not instructed them on the Sabbath yet? The only possible answer is that it had to exist from a time before their own. Here are the verses. So, let's consider that. If there are other languages where the seventh day of the week is recognized as a day of rest by people who came before Abraham in different parts of the world, then how is it possible to conclude it started with the Hebrews? Simply said, it is not possible at all. There is no truth in the belief that the Sabbath is Jewish or exclusive to the Hebrew race. There is also no truth in that the Sabbath started with Moses and Israel. I encourage you to view the chart and do your own studies around this. You'll notice that the first day of the week, now called Sunday, did not have enough significance to receive a name. In fact, none of the other days of the week really had one. The only day God named was the seventh, the Sabbath. For a good time, it looks to have stuck. So, one more source to check to see if the Sabbath was really exclusive to the Jews or not. The Bible. You ready? Let's see what God's Word has to share with us concerning this important topic. Packed with info, let's look at that verse again. The key word we are going to focus on is made. Jesus, the person speaking here, says that the Sabbath was made. Now, let's think back. When did God make things? Was it not during creation week? Think about it. Exodus 20 does not reveal the beginning of the fourth commandment because Exodus 16 mentions it. Exodus 16 does not reveal the beginning of the fourth commandment because it is man, not God, who speaks of it to keep. If God did not reveal the Sabbath commandment to man in Exodus 16, then we have to look before that too. It would make perfect sense to look in Genesis, where everything began, as God made things at the beginning. Let's go to Genesis. So, God finished creating the world and rested on the seventh day. He then blessed and sanctified the seventh day, the same seventh day found in the fourth commandment. So, God made an extra day here, as in 6 he was done with his work. God then also made the Sabbath as a day of rest and handed it down to Adam and Eve. There was the beginning of the Sabbath, not with Moses, but at the end of creation week. The evidence is clear, from ancient languages to Bible verses. We're not done yet though. Let's look at what the word sanctified means.